right, guys, welcome back. So I need to show you how to link your CSS style sheet. And as you look on the document that I continued from the one that we created last week, you'll see that these styles are embedded right now, but we're going to change that shortly because when you link a style sheet, you don't need the style element, nor do you need any of the styles. Our goal is to have clean code, so that's what we're going to work on. So this week, when you do your project, your styles will be on a separate style sheet. So that means we will have covered all three. So the way that you get your style sheet um, inside of your words. The way that you get your style sheet set up a link style sheet is like this. So I'm in the document. I'm making sure I'm inside of right before that closing head tag. You know, it's the closing head tag because it has the slash. That's the only difference between the open and the close. So what I'm going to do is it's a new HTML tag that we haven't used before called link. Now, the link tag is, as we remember from W3 schools in the other video, is a link tag is an empty tag. That means it does not have to have a closing tag. It's kind of like a self-closing tag. So it doesn't need a closing tag. However, what it does need is a link tag by itself does nothing. Okay, so this link tag is going to have to be linked to something. So in order to link it to something, let's go ahead first and let's make a style, a CSS style sheet. And the way that we're going to do that is inside of Dreamweaver, and making sure we're inside of our folder, right? So I changed my folder name to week 1 folder. So you would set up your site like you've been doing. If you forgot how to do that, there are videos on how to do that. Also, I went back through it again in last week's videos as well. So your step 1 is set up your site. Once you set up your site, you're going to see all of your stuff. Also, this week, I did show you in the earlier video, I showed you how to add the CSS folder and how to add the resources folder. So you should have all of that added already. All right, so I'm going to go in. So I have the CSS folder, and that's the folder that we're going to create the style sheet and save it in. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go File New. And then this time, remember, it usually defaults to this one, but this time I'm going to click on the CSS. So I have New Document, CSS, and I'm going to choose Create. Once I choose Create, I have this document, and really all you needed this for was to set this up. But what you are going to see is some familiar stuff like the char set, the UTF-8. The char set, again, just means character set. So this is defined inside of the CSS, and the UTF-8 is defined inside of the CSS here. Okay, so this is information that is strictly for the browser. And then this is a comment, and we're going to talk about how to comment as well. We did talk about how. Now we're going to talk about how to comment. So this is a CSS comment. For CSS, notice it is gray. That means that this does not apply to anything. It is commented out. All right. So with that being said, that's all we need to do for this document. Let's go to Save, File, Save. And we're going to save this file inside of our CSS folder. If you don't see yours as easy as mine was, just navigate to it. So I named this one ID4 LRF. See how it says week 4, and I'm going into the CSS. So your naming convention will definitely be different than mine. This is just for mine. So either you highlight it all and rename it, or you highlight a part of it, and that way the CSS is there. But for us, I'm just gonna call this. You can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it CSS just to keep. So it's gonna be CSS.css. But I'm gonna call it styles, or styles.css. And that .css is how it knows it's a CSS style sheet. Making sure CSS folder is highlighted. Click Save, and now I have my CSS style sheet set up. I'm going to close this because I don't really need it. I only needed it to set it up so that I can go ahead and go into my HTML. And now where I have link, I need to tell it that it is what its relationship is, and you saw that in the video. And I also need to tell it what I'm linking it to. That's the href. So REL, it stands for relative or relationship. I'm going to give it the REL attribute, get the quotes in there, and I just go ahead and do them both at once. And I'm going to do the href. And then Dreamweaver kind of helps us out a little bit in this. I don't even know what happened. Hang on. Href. Okay, so somehow I got a little lost. All right, so my relationship, I'm going to say is a style sheet. And then I'm going to go over here. And like I said, Dreamweaver usually would do it for you. Let me do this again just to make sure. Because I don't want you to see yours differently and be like, oh, well, hers didn't do that. All right, so REL. Okay, so relationship. And then I could either start typing CY and we'll see style sheet. And then I'm going to hit space. And now I have to tell it what the href is. And then I can browse, but it's going to show me that the CSS is right here. And then when it sees the CSS, there's the style, so it's right there. And then I'll go ahead and close that. So now I have linked it. I have the link. And the way you're going to know that it's linked, if you save this document, hang on. When I hit Control S, so I go up to File, and I go to Save. Okay. When I go to File and I go to Save, now I have my relative document. And so what I can do, let me move part of my screen. Okay. Let me move it up a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right. So now when I go to my documents over here and I look here, I'll see that I have a style sheet that's over here for me. So the way I needed to refresh it and it wasn't showing and I was wondering what was going on. Well, now the way that you know that it's the CSS and it's linked is you'll see that CSS styles show up here. See it right here? And so now I don't even have to open that document. I can see CSS styles and I can see my code. So I can go back and forth. So if yours didn't show up, like mine didn't show up at first, once you click over here and try to do something, then it's going to show up and you'll be able to see it. The other way is to refresh this one, and you refresh it by, there's usually a little refresh that's over there. I'm pretty sure I'll find it. I'm in a different view than the developer view. But in any event, you can refresh it. And you should see both. And this will be this link and this. And this way you won't have to open a style sheet because now they are linked. And this also gives you further clarification that they're linked. So what I can do is the styles that I already set up here in the style tag, I really don't need the style tags anymore. I'm going to go ahead and grab all of the styles that I have minus the style tags, right? I'm going to cut it. So I can either go to Control X or Command X, or I can go to Edit Cuts, right? So I just cut them. And then these style tags I don't need anymore. So now I have really, really clean HTML and CSS, which is what I want. Now I can go over here to the CSS and I can paste those styles in. So now if I save that, what should happen is my document should look the same. And it does because I put those styles over in the style sheet. So if you don't have your style sheet set up, it is, or if you don't have your HTML set up, it's fine. You're going to do the same process. You're just going to, the linking of the style sheet is the same whether you have a site set up or not. If you don't have CSS styles to put in it, that's fine. You're going to create them anyway. All right. So that's how you create your CSS style sheet. Pretty much all I did, if we go back over, rewind, all I did was I made the link tag and then Dreamweaver helped us out. So I did the link tag and then I did the relationship by giving it a REL attribute, REL equals quote, quote, and I gave it an href attribute, href equals quote, quote. In the relationship, it is a style sheet. And then in href, I had a CSS folder. And then inside of that CSS folder, that's what that slash is for, is the style.css that I need it to reference and go. So now if we look at it, everything is linked. We have the style sheet linked to the source code. And if we look up top, you'll see the source code and you'll see the CSS reference. All right. So that's what I wanted to go over with you on your CSS styles. In the next video, I will talk about semantics. All right.